Alright, hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This of course is another anime reaction video. Today, we are getting into some more Noragami. The last two episodes, really unexpected last two episodes. You know, getting some more history and backstory on Yato that I really wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting to be, so soon seeing that, that side to him, that he had that kind of past. That was really interesting to see. I've already forgotten her name, but the character with the pink hair that shares a voice with Yui from K-On! What's her name again? Kofuku Ebisu, that's right. She's an interesting character, alright. She seems like a very bubbly and fun person to hang out with, but she's also a total airhead, and accidentally ruined someone's entire life. Not even a little bit on purpose. I don't even think she realized she was doing anything wrong. So, I might hang out with her. I wouldn't get particularly close, but you know how it is. We also got a cute little moment between Yato and Hiyori, which was interesting. Wink, wink. But going forward, I hope we get to see more gods, because so far we've only seen Yato and Tenjin, and other than wanting to see wanting more elaboration on Yato's past, especially in regards to Miss Nora, the little masked girl that showed up at the end of at last episode 4. And other than that, I want to see more gods like Tenjin, because I mentioned before that I kind of like, I don't know how I feel about Tenjin just yet, because he's clearly a very successful god, so he's got to be powerful in his own right, but I took a little offense to his teasing of Yato, and I get it. It's just for comedy purposes, but it was a little upsetting because I kind of get the feeling there's an underlying, genuine, like, distaste for Yato or something like that, because he's kind of like, he's beneath the other gods, so to speak. So I'm really interested to see, like, more of the dynamics between more of the gods that eventually show up, because there's a pretty decent amount of what I assume to be gods in the openings. The first one, which you've seen me see on this channel, and the second one, which I've watched on my own. I'm both excited to keep watching the show and not excited to keep watching the show, because obviously the manga's still ongoing, still no word on season 3, and we're already, at this point, at the end of this video, at the end of this reaction, we'll be halfway through the first season already, but man, without further ado, let's get started with this, episode 5 of Noragami. As always, unless you're new here, you can find the links to the full-length uncut reaction in the description below. So go ahead and watch the reaction there, then you can come back to YouTube for the discussion. So, let's get started. Episode 5 of Noragami. Really great episode. I'm gonna have to scroll through this a bit more than they usually do for episodes, because I've had that long-ass, like, interruption I had close to the end. Yeah. But anyway, I'm super glad that they're giving Regalias more power, because Regalias are already kind of interesting enough on their own. If they decided to not give them any power, like that whole barrier power, then they could have had like a plot point in the future where, because Yukine's already kind of got like an internal struggle going on. That's really interesting to watch, but maybe not Yukine's internal struggle, but like a different Regalia's internal struggle might have to deal with the fact that they feel like they're useless, because their master, if their master is one of the gods that have multiple regalias, then perhaps because they can't do anything else but be a subpar regalia for their master, they just feel like they're completely useless or something. But the fact that they have abilities, and that could still be a plot point in the future, but the fact that they have the ability to create a barrier alone is really interesting. And I wonder, because obviously it's a barrier that phantoms can't get through, but what if you were to create one through a phantom? Like, could you cut one in half with that barrier? That would be interesting. But with that being introduced early in the episode, and then it kind of, and I'm not really great at analyzing things, but it's kind of a neat little visual thing that I assumed that they were going for, where he can create a barrier, forcefully create a barrier between himself and phantoms, but he has accidentally formed a barrier between himself and Hiyori, because obviously he doesn't know very much about what it's like to be like a normal kid, and he doesn't want to burden her with himself or whatever. So when he tried to borrow that skateboard, and he got really upset when he inadvertently made that little line or whatever, that was a really cool, interesting little bit of visual storytelling. Of course, I love that scene of Yato coming and invading his home. Let's see. Now I wonder, because obviously Yato is saying that Yukine probably wouldn't be able to handle the dark because that's when all of the phantoms come out. But it kind of made me feel like there was something about darkness other than the fact that phantoms come out that scares Yuki, which would be something interesting to explore in the future. But because I was thinking maybe this would be his chance to escape his fear of darkness. But then they hit me with that she was already possessed and he was drowned out in even greater sea of darkness, which is just another like thing of visual storytelling, which is really cool. And it seems like he's sort of come to peace with that maybe, but because the episode ended before we got to see the aftermath of this, obviously they rendered the phantom, and it looked like the little girl spirit came to speak with him. And then that ending scene. Yeah, I have no idea. I kind of this shot, which I say this shot, but you can't see it, but it's the shot at the end with Yuki in his like Seki form or whatever, when he's a blade and he's partially in light and partially out of light, and that kind of reads to me in terms of visual storytelling as him like losing his innocence, with him having to come to terms with he wasn't strong enough to be able to protect the little girl from being possessed. Yeah, but we really don't know what the little girl spirit said to him, so I can't be for certain, but that's kind of the way I'm interpreting it in that sense. Yeah, I can't wait to get to the next episode, but I'll probably have to wait a day because I don't have enough time to record a second episode. But I still have more videos to put up, so it's not a big deal, so Ow. Shit. Alright, whatever. Man, really, really interesting episode. I'm so glad, because I kept wondering when we were going to finally meet some additional gods, because we'd obviously met Tenjin, but now we're meeting Bishamon, who's really, really, out of the gate, super interesting. Between the two gods that aren't Yato we've met, she's the most interesting. And there's so many like little things that we saw throughout this episode that are even more interesting than anything ever. For one thing, what's interesting is how they keep constantly like flipping on its head what exactly these gods are going to look like, because I can't remember which one it was on the sort of like that little image that they have in Ebisu's place with all the different gods, but I'm pretty sure she looks different from how she's depicted, Kofuku, and so is Bishamon. In Bishamon it looks like she is depicted as a dude with a lot of facial hair and like red armor and like a helmet, but she looks very different now. And I guess that sort of goes with the territory of like more modern-ish designs, which is really cool. But this conflict between Yukine and Yato is super interesting, because obviously I don't know like the exact methods all of the gods go through to get their regalias, but the fact that like I never would have thought that just like the fact alone, like, because I assumed it would mostly be just like a gag thing every time Yukine thinks of something dirty or indecent, which was mostly just set up to be as like a haha funny. He's thinking of lewd things with Hiyori, and then Yato would very loudly protest to it or whatever because it hurts. But the fact that they're like sort of building on that's really cool, and I always kind of enjoy that about things. It can be a pretty decent way of getting you invested in characters, is to hit you with a bunch of funnies and how those characters react to it, because not only it gets you to be endeared to the character, but it also helps to build their personality and who they are as a person by showing how they react to different kinds of situations, and to keep people interested. They're comedic in nature, but then to further take those things and explain them in a more serious context, and then to show our characters remaining in character and doing things how you would think they would go about them in a more serious nature based on what we know about them through the comedy. It's really effective, and there's just so many like outside of like the big things that they're setting up, there's so many like little things that they're sprinkling out here and there throughout the episode that gets me really interested to see some more of the show and some more of the backgrounds for these different characters. And I think the biggest ones, very obviously, is one of the biggest ones that I'm really interested in is to see the sort of relationship that Bishamon has with her regalia, because since we've actually seen her use multiple regalia in a fight, which we haven't seen before. Tenjin, he just had a bunch of regalia kind of there as a for lack of a better term, harem. they were just kind of there. We didn't see them do much, but the fact that they made sure to go point out that she has multiple different regalia on her at all times, that being her clothes, the lion, the whip, the two guns she has, and then her earring, and the fact that they work so well together, because we've seen very little like internal monologue from them. I'm pretty sure we haven't seen any of their internal thoughts so far throughout this episode between Bishamon and her regalias. We've just seen them talk to each other, and they've got a good thing going. They can synchronize and like synergize or whatever really well, and that's really cool. And a lot of it was sort of attributed to Kazuma, who was the earring, who's sort of the brains of the operation, so to speak. And the fact that Kazuma there at the end, well, first of all, wait, okay, I think I might have been wrong. It looks like his eye colors are too different in one of the shots. I think that just might be the lighting. I think his eyes are the same color. But he sees Yato, and then he stares at him for a while before bowing, which is, it's really, it's just sprinkling in, here and there little things that really fuck with you and like really make you ask questions, even outside of like the immediate things. And I brought up something saying that it reminded me of Bleach, and that being he killed a regalia, but they're deliberately not giving us like any details. We haven't seen flashbacks of the event, we haven't heard more context from anybody, and we especially haven't heard Yato's side. And knowing Yato, based on the episode where he said he doesn't care if people kill themselves, it sounded like a very rude and just like terrible thing to say out loud, until we gain the extra context from the rest of the episode. So that makes me feel like him saying he killed a regalia because he wanted to is doing the same thing here. He's just deliberately not giving out extra context, and we will only be able to learn about that extra context later in the series. So I imagine, my prediction is, and I could be totally off base here, is that he didn't actually want to kill them. He was really cool with all the murdering and shit, and for whatever reason, whether it be like a possession or like he had no choice but to kill them, or it was an accident or something, and him killing the regalia was sort of like the turning point. And so he's like, you know what, I'm done being a god of war or of calamity. I'm gone. I'm peacing out, bro. And to be fair, again, I don't know, but that's just the kind of vibe I get, because that was one of the sort of twists of the Soul Society arc in Bleach, is that they set up this idea that one of the characters we know and love killed somebody who was important to other people, and we saw the emotional like impact that the death of that character had on these characters, and the fact that it was only till later that we were revealed the very true nature of that event in its entirety, and we weren't being left sort of in the dark without like the full context. So it just reminds me of that, So it'll be really cool to see what exactly will happen in that situation. Now, real quick, because I feel like I recognize some voices, and I feel like I might recognize some voices. So let me, Bishamon, who's your voice? Miyuki Sawashiro. Oh shit! And you know what? That was the same voice actress who did Jolene Cujo in the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle and Eyes of Heaven video games. Unfortunately, didn't get to reprise the role as whatchamacallit, Jolene in the anime, but that's honestly fine. Ai Feroz, honestly, she's been a fan of JoJo's for so long, and it's so cool to see her. And she's, from the trailer, she's going to be pretty goddamn good as her. She was apparently also Luca from the 2016-2017 Berserk. I haven't watched that one yet, but Luca was one of my favorite characters in the series so far. But real quick, let me look up the voice actor for Kazuma, I believe his name was, because I think it's the same voice of Koro Sensei from Assassination Classroom, which I finished reading the manga for that recently. God damn, it was that good. Yep. Okay, it was. What surprised me is Koro Sensei from Assassination Classroom was voiced by Jun Fukuyama, which I mainly know him from fucking Code Geass as Lelouch, and also as Joker, the main character in Persona 5. But I thought I recognized that voice. He's also Kazuma in Noragami, which is cool. It's always cool. It's always kind of cool to hear voice actors that you already know in other pieces of media. Yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say about this episode. Well, these episodes technically, because it's gonna be, 5 and 6, but I just had to like record on different days. Whatever. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single upload in the future. Thank you once again for watching. Peace.